downtown.
Realized that I had probably never been as happy as I was when...
The history of sound unfolds as an intimate and emotionally resonant cinematic experience that explores memory, love, and the fragile ways in which human connection is preserved through sound, rather than leaning on spectacle or grand external conflict. The film immerses itself in quiet moments and interior landscapes, capturing how voices, songs, and shared silences become the threads that bind people across time. It is a story shaped not only by what is seen, but by what is heard and remembered, where the echo of a melody can hold more weight than 1,000 spoken explanations. From its earliest moments, the film establishes a tone of tenderness and introspection, inviting the audience into a world where sound is both a refuge and a record of longing set against a backdrop that feels both historical and timeless. The narrative follows two young men whose lives intersect through a shared fascination with music and folk traditions. Their bond forms gradually, almost tentatively at first, sparked by curiosity and deepened through collaboration. They travel together to collect songs and stories, preserving fragments of culture that might otherwise fade into silence. As they move from rural landscapes to intimate gatherings, the act of listening becomes sacred. Every voice they record carries history, grief, celebration, and resilience. Through this journey, the film explores how art can preserve what time threatens to erase. The emotional core of the story lies in the relationship between these two men. Their connection evolves through glances, harmonies, and unspoken understanding. What begins as professional collaboration slowly transforms into something more personal and vulnerable. The film handles this evolution with remarkable subtlety. Rather than relying on dramatic declarations, it allows affection to bloom in shared laughter, quiet walks after long days of recording, and the gentle exchange of melodies under open skies. Their chemistry feels organic, grounded in mutual respect and admiration. It is in these small moments that the film's emotional power truly resides. Sound itself becomes a character within the narrative. The crackle of early recording equipment, the layered harmonies of traditional songs, the hum of wind through fields, and the distant murmur of crowds all contribute to a textured auditory landscape. The film pays careful attention to how sound travels and lingers. A song sung in one scene reappears later, altered slightly, carrying new emotional weight. Silence is used just as deliberately. In moments of tension or heartbreak, the absence of sound speaks volumes, amplifying the vulnerability of the characters as their journey continues. External forces begin to shape the trajectory of their lives. The world beyond their intimate sphere grows more turbulent, introducing uncertainty and separation. Ambition, societal expectation, and the inevitability of change create subtle fractures in their closeness. The film does not portray these obstacles as villains, but rather as natural currents that redirect lives. In this way, the narrative reflects the unpredictable rhythm of history itself. Moments of joy are interrupted by reality, and plans made in optimism must contend with unforeseen shifts. Memory plays a central role in the unfolding drama. Years later, recollections surface like half-remembered melodies. Scenes transition fluidly between past and present, blurring the boundaries between what was and what is remembered. A recorded song becomes a portal to an earlier time. The older perspective adds layers of reflection, suggesting that memory is never static. It reshapes itself, much like sound echoing differently in each space it inhabits. Through this structure, the film emphasizes how love and loss are intertwined with remembrance. Visually, the film embraces a warm, textured aesthetic that mirrors the intimacy of its themes. Natural light bathes many scenes, enhancing the authenticity of rural landscapes and modest interiors. Close-up shots capture subtle emotional shifts, a tremor in a hand, a fleeting smile, the hesitation before a confession. These details ground the story in realism, making the emotional stakes feel immediate and personal. The camera lingers, allowing viewers to absorb the atmosphere rather than rushing forward. The narrative gradually deepens into a meditation on the preservation of culture and the preservation of love. The songs the protagonists collect are more than artifacts. They are living expressions of identity. In preserving them, the characters attempt to hold on to something enduring in a world that feels increasingly unstable. Yet the film gently questions whether anything can truly be preserved unchanged. Recordings may capture sound, but they cannot fully contain the moment of connection in which the sound was born. This tension between permanence and impermanence underscores the story's emotional complexity. As the relationship between the two men intensifies, so does the vulnerability that accompanies it. Their affection exists within a context that does not always allow it to flourish openly. The film treats this reality with sensitivity, portraying the quiet negotiations required to protect what is precious. Stolen glances, coded language, and private spaces become sanctuaries. The emotional stakes heighten not because of overt confrontation, but because of what remains unsaid. The weight of restraint adds poignancy to even the simplest gestures. Music sequences form the heartbeats of the film. Rather than functioning as performance showcases, they feel like shared experiences between characters and audience. The act of singing together becomes an expression of trust and unity. In some scenes, voices blend effortlessly, symbolizing harmony in their relationship. In others, subtle discord hints at underlying tension. These musical moments convey shifts in emotion more powerfully than dialogue ever could. They remind viewers that sound carries truths words often struggle to articulate. Midway through the narrative, a turning point emerges that reshapes the trajectory of both lives. Circumstances force distance between them, and the ease of their shared journey gives way to solitude. The film captures this separation with aching restraint. Letters replace conversations and recordings replace presence. The absence of one voice leaves a perceptible void in the soundscape. What once felt vibrant now feels hollow, underscoring the emotional cost of distance. Time passes, and the story transitions into reflection. The older perspective frames the youthful romance as both luminous and fragile. Regret and gratitude coexist. The protagonist revisits recordings from the past, hearing not only the songs but the undercurrents of emotion embedded within them. These moments are profoundly moving, illustrating how sound can resurrect feelings long thought buried. A single note can collapse decades, bringing memory into the present with startling clarity. The film's exploration of masculinity is equally nuanced. It challenges rigid expectations by portraying tenderness and emotional openness as strengths rather than weaknesses. The characters are not defined solely by longing. They are scholars, artists, and seekers of beauty. Their intellectual curiosity complements their emotional depth, creating layered portrayals that feel authentic and multidimensional. Through them, the film suggests that vulnerability is an essential component of human connection. As the narrative approaches its emotional climax, the convergence of past and present becomes more pronounced. Memories and reality intertwine, creating a sense of inevitability. The film resists melodrama, instead allowing emotion to surface organically. A final shared memory, revisited through sound, becomes the culmination of everything that has come before. It is neither purely joyous nor entirely sorrowful. Instead, it captures the bittersweet essence of love that endures beyond physical proximity. The resolution is gentle yet resonant. There is no sweeping declaration, no dramatic reconciliation. Instead, there is acceptance. The protagonist comes to understand that while circumstances may alter the course of a life, they cannot erase the impact of genuine connection. The songs collected during that formative journey remain, carrying echoes of laughter, discovery, and unspoken devotion. In this way, the film suggests that love, like sound, continues to reverberate long after the moment of its creation. The history of sound ultimately becomes a meditation on how we remember and how we preserve meaning. It honors the power of art to bridge distances, both temporal and emotional. By centering its narrative on listening rather than spectacle, it invites audiences to slow down and pay attention to subtleties often overlooked. The quiet rhythm of the film mirrors the quiet truths it seeks to reveal: that connection is fleeting yet transformative, that memory is imperfect yet powerful, and that every voice carries a story worth hearing. Through its understated storytelling, evocative performances, and richly layered sound design, the film leaves a lasting impression. It does not demand attention through grandiosity. It earns it through sincerity. Viewers are left with the sensation of having witnessed something intimate and deeply human. The echoes of its melodies linger, reminding us that history is not only written in books but sung in voices and felt in hearts. In its final moments, the film returns to the idea that sound shapes identity. The protagonist listens once more to a familiar recording, and the audience hears it differently now, infused with everything that has transpired. The story closes not with silence but with resonance. It affirms that while time may move relentlessly forward, the vibrations of love and memory continue to travel, carrying fragments of who we were into who we become.